from a man who is my king, a man who means everything to me, is a man is not a failure because he tries and fails, but because he fails to try. So I want to welcome you and thank you all for coming to this conference, Upward Bound. I know you guys have heard me speak before. I'm so proud. I'm so proud you guys are here. What did I talk about? What did I talk about?
Who you are.
Who you are. What is one of the exercises we did during that speech?
We had to look in the mirror and say what we are and what we want to be.
And I remember you telling me you wanted to be a leader in society, and I'm seeing you here tonight. I am so proud of you.
Faith in action.
I am so proud. Mentoring is huge. Sports is huge. Whatever it is that people want to be involved in, it's huge. But we have to have teachers, professors, staff members, parents, individuals that love us and support us. But as students, as athletes, as mentors, 30, 40, you still have a mentor, we need to reach out to them. I don't give excuses to high school students. I don't give excuses to kids that are on the streets. They need to know that they need to step out and make themselves available to reach out and knock on the door in order for someone to answer that door in order to get the help that they need. April 28th, my father died. I found out 8 o'clock in the morning. This was 2012. I had a track meet at 10 o'clock a.m. and I was in Central Michigan University. I got in my car and I drove to the track meet after I found out my father was dead, and I competed. Why did I compete? Because a man is not a failure because he tries and fails, but because he fails to try. Now I'm going to add, I am one of 21 children. 7 different mothers. Yeah. I mean, when I talk about it, sometimes I'm like, I should be embarrassed, but you know what? That was my circumstance. That was the situation that I ended up in. But I can tell you this, I had a relationship with my father. My father loved me, and my father had his own home. He had a Reformation home in Kingston, Jamaica, where he took street boys off the street. And when I was at his funeral, May 19th, and I saw all those street boys up there talking about how my father told them stories and screaming, a man is not a failure because he tries and fails, but because he fails to try. I said, how is it that this man that's 4'11", has 21 children, 7 different mothers, and boys' homes that has reached out to over hundreds of students across Jamaica over the years, can express so much love, that each one of us had so many stories to share, so much things to take in and walk away with. Mentorship. Because mentorship is everything. He made himself available. If I didn't get money from my dad, I know it probably went to some person he saw on the street. I mean, he wasn't very good with balancing, and if you didn't get to him first, you wasn't going to get anything at all. That's just how it was in our family. But what it did was when my mom migrated to New York and they split up and we weren't together anymore, it pushed me to realize that I needed to fight for what I want at all times. It set me on a journey to know that regardless of where I was, because I was brought up in an all-white neighborhood. It was just me, literally, the only black girl in a school from kindergarten to 6th grade. I graduated with 2 other black girls by the time I left. But I was not afraid to ask my professors for help, my teachers for help, and I had no fear. When I told my mom I wanted to run for president, she looked at me, and she tells me this now. She looked at me and was just like, well, baby girl, you can do everything, but in the back of her mind, she was scared. She was scared because she wasn't sure what I was going to endure, what I was going to go through. But I told her I could do anything that I want to do because a man is not a failure because he tries and fails or because he fails to try. So when I talk to kids now, I instill that in them because they have to realize and they have to know and they have to remember that people are there for them. If John doesn't help me when I ask, then I need to go and ask Stacy. If Stacy says no, then I need to go and ask Sam. If Sam says no, then I gotta find Jerome. If Jerome says no, I gotta keep asking until someone says yes. So yeah, that deems me a troublemaker in a lot of places because I won't take no for an answer. A lot of people yell at me. A lot of people say, Zara, you're just always asking. You're always pushing. You're always moving in faith. But that's just it. We don't know what's next. We don't know who's going to say yes. We don't know who's going to be there. But you also have to make yourself available to be there. And as a student, as a mentee looking for a mentor, you have to keep pushing until you find someone. Because initially, at some point, you're going to intercollide. You're going to interconnect, and you're going to find that person. And that's what it's all about. Sports was that for me. That's why I think it's so important that we encourage individuals to play sports, or we encourage individuals who love music to sing, to write their music. In a world where we have social media, we have YouTube, we have Facebook, we have Voodoo, we have Skype, we've got everything. We need to utilize that to our advantage, but we have to educate our kids on how to do that. I had a mentee walk into my office today, and she doesn't know what she wants to do, and we're sitting there and we're talking, and then I said, well, I know you like to sing. Have you recorded yourself and put yourself on YouTube? Have you, have you sung in your church choir? Have you reached out to someone that knows the industry or is a part of groups that are singing and doing things? And she said no. And I was just like, well, I mean, you don't really want to sing? You don't really want to be heard? I went on Beaubien Street the other day and I saw a homeless lady in the corner sitting underneath it was like a tracks, it was a dark area, but she was singing her heart out. And it led me to her. Because the one thing I learned from her, which I was trying to share with my mentee, was that whether you're in the darkness, in the midst of the darkness, then you need to be the light. You need to make yourself be heard. And that's what we need to be educating our youth on. And that is what we need to remember ourselves, because even as mentors, we get a lot of people knocking on the door. We get a lot of people, and it gets tiring. It does. But as long as we continue to remember to help and reach out, then we will get there. And it's just a matter of making sure that we interconnect. And sometimes it's doing what you don't want to do in order to do what you have to do. So you don't like going to school, but you got to go to school because you want to get this education, and you want to be able to travel the world, and you want to play basketball, and you want to do these things. You know, if you don't have a 2.0 or 2.5, then you're not going to be able to be on the team. And that's just the bare minimum. Nobody wants to just skate by, because the people that skate by don't end up successful. The people that, they hardly even end up decent. So you got to work just as hard as you do in athletics and sports and singing or in anything that you do in classrooms. So this way, then together you will rise, and you work with your mentors and your teachers in order to make things happen. So the reason why I wanted to come up here and just share those things with you is because you have to be real with the students that you talk to. They hear you, and it's not sugarcoating it anymore. I had a coach that literally yelled at me every day, but it was because he was yelling at me, telling me not to smile, telling me not to just take this lightly, where I was able to step up and face reality when people were trying to deny me left and right once I got to college, once I got to the professional circuit and people were trying to hold me back. So we have to be straightforward and honest with our students in order to be able to reach out to them to help them to get to that next level. So that's me.